Welcome to Blizzard Art Live, 3D art and digital painting.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Blizzard Art Live, and those watching on the virtual ticket. My name is Jeff. I'm an art manager on World of Warcraft. For this panel, we wanted to pull back the curtain and show you a little bit of how some of our game teams create concept art and digital sculpts. So with that said, let's go ahead and introduce you to our artist. On the left, we have Crystal. Crystal, can you tell us a little bit about what team you're on, how long you've been at Blizzard, and what you're going to be making for us today?
Hi, my name is Crystal Land. I'm a senior character artist on the Diablo team. I've been here for about 5 months, so not a super long time. And I'm going to be showing you guys a sculpt of a bust of the fallen figure, or fallen character. It's a demon.
Cool. Looking forward to that. In the middle, we have Cole. Cole, can you tell us a little bit about what team you're on, how long you've been at Blizzard, and what you're going to be making for us today?
Hi, I'm Cole Eastburn. I'm on the World of Warcraft team. I've been on it for 10 years. I'm a concept artist for it. And so I do characters and environments and come up with visual stuff for the game.
Okay. Awesome. And last but not least, on the right of the stage, we have Peter Lee. Peter, could you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be making for us today, what team you're currently on, and how long you've been at Blizzard?
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Lee. I am senior or lead environmental artist working on Heroes of the Storm right now. And today, what I'm going to paint is I'm going to paint ancient high elf city called Quel'Thalas. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So a couple things while they're getting started. There's a microphone over there for those of you in the crowd. If you have any questions, go ahead and line up behind there and we'll get to you. I've also got some pre-prepared questions. And for the sake of time, the artists actually have incremental versions of their work from start to finish. So they actually will be kind of jumping ahead throughout the process. So don't freak out if you see them kind of jump ahead from time to time. So I guess to start out, Crystal, can you talk about maybe what got you into video game art or just an artist in general?
Well, as a kid, I always liked horses, and I would draw pictures of horses, and horses became unicorns, and unicorns became dragons and demons, and I just...
Natural evolution.
Yeah, you find a lot of unicorns and stuff in video games, so
okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. How about you, Cole? What's your origin story?
I got into Blizzard when I was 11 years old, and what made me want to work here and be an artist in general was that when I loaded up Warcraft 2 finally and I got it, Metzen did an art piece, which was a troll axe thrower versus an archer, and it changed my life because I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I want to do that for the rest of my life. So that's what got me here and set my path forward.
Cool. Warcraft 2.
Yep.
Awesome. Peter, how about you? What got you into art and video game art?
Wow. That was quite a bit time ago, but StarCraft was the one that changed my life dramatically. Especially there's one painting that Samwise did. It's a picture of a Protoss unit floating inside of the magical water, and that painting kept made me keep asking this question why is guys in here? What is this unit? What is this water? What happened? What's the history? So that kind of a very curious why question got me into this universe of StarCraft, and then that's the moment that I really got into this concept world or creating this the universe with the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really the lore for you is kind of that first hook. That's awesome. So Cole, what are you starting out now? I see you got a lion sketch.
Yeah, so
what's
this
the next
is
step
the
after
kind of
and then
final version.
That was
and,
quick.
Yeah, that's the next step. So I finish it right around there.
Yeah, okay.
I just click this layer and it's done. So concept art's pretty easy.
one layer.
So what I do in my process is I like to do values first, just base tone values. And then what I'll do is the cape here is just one solid tone. and I block out like the local tone of whatever that object. So if it's a blue cape, I kind of get the values right there.
Okay.
And then
what do you
after
say
that,
when you say local tone? What does that mean?
Kind of like the if a material is just dark or light, when it's kind of like universally lit. So, you know, if you have black cloth, that's a low value. So I just block that in with a dark value just to set that up before even adding light.
Okay, cool. Cool, that's looking great so far.
Thank you.
Crystal, what about yourself? Where do you start out when you're sculpting?
I tend to start off with Z-spheres, and just to get an idea of like the general form, and then I'll make it an adaptive mesh, and then I start blocking in like big shapes, silhouette, and just get the overall shape of the character before delving into details.
So you said Z-spheres. That seems like a very ZBrush-specific tool. Can you explain that maybe to someone that doesn't or hasn't touched ZBrush before? How do those work, or kind of what is that?
They're just these little ball things that you can move around and rotate, and then you press a button, it turns into a mesh.
Okay. It was like an armature or something?
Yes,
like a
that's
wire
the
armature?
best way to
Okay.
describe it.
So you start off from that and then create it into like clay over it? Okay. And then just keep working at it?
Yeah, and then I'll go into a Dynamesh, and then ZBrush that, and then start adding in details. So this is a ZBrush version.
Okay, cool. It's looking good. Peter, how about yourself? I saw you jumped into color really early, whereas Cole was working in just grayscale very early. Why did you
Yes.
jump into color?
I love to play with the color, directly. Before I got really comfortable with the, color, I used to use, the grayscale a lot, before I, move on to any color, because I wasn't like really super confident about, choosing color choices. But as I get like more comfortable, I just like a straight jump into it, because it just like happens like a backside of my brain. The process itself is very similar to what Cole just described. It's just like a color version of like a grayscale, but the value structure and like a big shape is something that I'm looking for right now.
So the color choices you're making now, are those going to be very similar to the final, or are they going to
Yes.
change throughout the painting?
Yes, it will be a little bit better than this, but
Well,
the big color scheme is very similar. Basically, just trying to use like a two complementary color, which is like orange yellow versus like the purple blue type of the combination, because that's like one of the most effective and basic color choice.
okay. So you're thinking about your color scheme immediately when you're working.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Cole, you're starting in on the face. I can see you kind of going in there, putting some finer details in there. Is that something do you start out with fine details, or do you kind of do larger details across the board?
So
how does that work?
usually I tend to get to the area I want a person to focus on and kind of like get that to a level that looks pretty good, so I can dictate what level to bring everything else, because I want that to be my focal point. So I usually start with the focal point area and getting those details looking right, so that the rest of the piece I can push or pull back on the other aspects of it.
Okay. So with characters, is the focal point always the head, or would you change that?
It fluctuates depending on the piece. I would say with characters, the face is definitely like a really important part, especially on a human character, because humans instinctively want to look directly at a person's face. So.
Okay, cool. That's looking good. What about you, Crystal? I can see you're kind of doing the same thing where you're putting some details in the face. Is that the first area you go to?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, the human eye will go and look at the face, look at the eyes, and try to figure out like the expression, the intent of the face. So face is really important, and overall shapes are also extremely important, especially for a game like Diablo where the camera's further away.
Okay, so those larger shapes. You focus
Yeah.
on large shapes first. I can see looking at your sculpt that the horns are super, super detailed already. Is there a reason those are super detailed and the head and the rest of the body and the head is not?
Yeah, I actually created a brush for the horns. So it's pretty simple, actually. You can take a mesh and you create, and insert mesh out of it. And you can create it as a stroke. So you make it a curve, change this size so that it tapers. And now you can draw it just like that. And so right now the spacing's a little off. So in the stroke settings, there is a curve step, and you just kind of do that. And it's pretty cool. You can just put them all kinds of shapes.
Okay. Awesome. So now you've got this custom horn brush that you can kind of put in there and play with. Okay, cool. So that's why those look more detailed then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cole's still roughing the face out. Okay. I can see when you're working, you're kind of changing your brush size often. Is there a reason you're doing that? You're not working with the same brush size all the time?
Yeah, just to cover more ground quicker, right? I try to use the biggest brush possible for the area that I'm doing, just to keep it simple.
Economics.
Yeah, economic concept artist stuff where
Technical stuff.
I don't want to fill in the entire hair like this.
Yeah, that'll be we just have an hour, so large brush.
Yeah, large brushes.
Cool, Peter. You made a ton of progress. Oh my gosh.
It's that easy. I'm usually this fast, like always.
Run away for 5 minutes. This is looking great. So now you're painting in the clouds. I can kind of see the shape you're painting those in. You kind of get the circular. It's almost like lines. Why are you kind of doing those lines in the clouds?
That's because it's a compositional reason. Whenever we are painting an environment, like this is not a singular object, right? Like it's basically painting the whole scene, which means, you can easily get lost, what to show. But to reinforce a main subject matter that I'm trying to paint, I'm trying to use a lot of the compositional trick to, make that, the focus back to the main subject matter. In order to do that, let me fast forward the clock just a little bit.
Okay. Jump in a time machine. Whoa,
okay.
gosh.
So this is the finished version of that. Okay. But then, to explain that a little bit of a concept, if we break down, this compositional thing, as you can see, all these clouds actually following the shape, because this is the main, the subject matter that I'm gonna,
So you're drawing the eye there.
Everyone to, the focus, right? And if all this a perspective or compositional thing it doesn't work out for anybody, how about pointing? Dudes, look at that, dude.
So he's literally pointing at the object we all should
how
look
about
at.
that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's great, Peter. Very cool. Cole, you're roughing out the hair.
Roughing out the hair.
Okay. Putting in a darker value for the hair. Is it always going to stay darker, or are you going to take it lighter, you think?
If he's got dark brown hair or black hair, usually it tends to be just overall one kind of value. What a lot of people tend to do is they do this kind of thing when they start rendering hair, and it kind of destroys the value range of the entire thing, and it gets really detailed.
Okay.
Pretty quick. So
too quick? It goes to detail too quick? Or
yeah,
just,
I would say people do the spaghetti strand thing, and if you look at a person, usually their hair is just kind of one dark mass, and there's only a couple little slight highlights to it. So it's easy to overcomplicate it if you jump into individual strands real quick.
So when you're creating a piece like this, say it's not as an illustration, but maybe as a piece of concept, would you go in there and fully render the hair out, or would you just kind of leave it loosely descriptive?
Yeah, as a concept, I would probably leave it pretty loose.
Okay.
It's not that important, depending on the goal of the concept to get super detailed with things. If they can read it as hair, I've done my job.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Okay, Crystal, whoa, you've jumped ahead. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So you've added teeth too?
Yeah, I actually have another brush.
Okay, cool. Tons of brushes.
ZBrush added this thing, vector displacement maps, or I think so. And I actually have a, you can just draw out teeth. So it's a toothbrush.
Putting teeth everywhere. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome. And did you model the tooth out as well, the same way as you did the horns?
No, actually, you work on just a flat plane, and you work on it from that. There we go.
Okay,
so-
so you pulled out a tooth?
Yep,
Okay. Cool.
it's pretty handy.
And then you can place those where you want. Okay.
Yeah, anywhere
And then-
all over the mesh.
Also, I've noticed like you've jumped ahead and you've really defined a lot of the forms in the head, and then the muscles and everything. How do you what's your thought process when you do that? Do you describe do you kind of work on those large forms and then go to the smaller ones, or do you kind of try to get one area a little more finished?
Yeah, I mean, every now and then, like, I'll have a favorite spot, and I'll just end up working that a little more than I probably should. But I tend to jump around, defining the anatomy is really important to do. And even on fantasy creature, like making it seem believable is always good. I don't know, I started working on extruding some wraps over here, and
Okay, and so those are just pulled out from the torso and the arms then?
yeah.
Okay.
Masked and extracted from the underlying mesh, so it looks like it's close to the figure.
Cool. That's awesome. If you guys have any questions, we definitely line up and we can get your questions. So Peter, I see you're adding some more detail in up close. The stuff closer to the viewer seems really dark. Why are you making that dark?
Oh, that is the part of a value study process. The easiest way to think about is, I know air doesn't have any color, right? But let's pretend air has a somewhat like a transparent, like a semi-transparent color to it. More air block we have between the viewer and the subject, it will get actually, the lighter because of the color of air, right? Versus if the subject is closer to the viewer, which is like there's a less, thing between the subject and the viewer, the value gets darker, right? So, that's like a simple color theory of like, putting something, dark up front, so that like it creates illusion of the depth atmosphere. So that is a simplest term of like a breaking down atmospheric perspective.
So like a white fog almost or something right in
Yes.
front. Okay, makes sense. We have a question over there.
Hey guys, my name is Justin Mayhew. I'm currently working as an artist out in the industry, and I don't think I'm quite Blizzard level just yet, but mainly digital illustration and that type of stuff. My question was probably aimed at Cole. I've had a couple critiques where they say, hey, you need to be using more detail, you need to get this tighter, sharper, and then in other areas they say, but you need to leave this more loose. I was wondering if you ever have the same problems and how you kind of deal with that, and how you separate the dirty laundry, as it were.
I get that all the time. In fact, at work especially, and Jeff knows this, I go to detail way too much. I'm a render monster. I love to render. It's like my favorite part of painting. And I kind of jump into that a lot. And so for a long time, it was kind of like, Cole, do some concepts. And so I do some concepts, and it'd be finished paintings. And they're like, well, we don't like that concept. And now you spent like 3 days rendering out the sky. So that was hard for me, and I had to kind of like train myself out of that and just work on like very loose things and fight my impulse to like render. And it helped my design sense a lot too, because I'm thinking more about the design, less about the lighting, less about the form, being hit by the, a rim light and all this kind of stuff and that. But if you're getting like conflicting feedback like that, where it's kind of like, well, keep this tight, keep this loose, it's very hard to pinpoint individual people's styles, what they like. So it's a little hard for me to gauge that question for you or have a quick fix for it. But I know, depending on where it's coming from, usually I just try to work on whatever that aspect is. So it's just like, if your stuff is too loose, try to work on a really tightly rendered piece, but it sounds like you have like, sometimes it's loose, sometimes it's not. So that's really hard to figure out. So just basically do some tight, do some loose stuff, and try to find a balance.
I know with some of your work too, Cole, like you have some areas where you focus and you put some more details.
No,
on.
I don't. No,
All over. No, and then some areas you have like rest areas.
Yes.
Is that something that could be maybe?
Yeah, if
apply
you
to
put
that?
too much detail in a lot of places, it gets really busy, almost like a kaleidoscope. And it's cool, like what people tend to do is they go like, oh, this fur is really cool. I'm gonna put a lot of dark here and then have individual strands. And this metal is really cool. I'm gonna put a highlight here and here and here and here. And it gets really busy to a person. They like areas of rest. So if your stuff is, they're saying too detailed sometimes, it might be something like that where your values are like jumbled together so closely that it becomes like a kaleidoscope.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We have another question over there.
Hi, my name is Bianca. This question's for Crystal. It looks like ZBrush is fairly complicated. I was wondering how easy was it for you to learn the program?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Complicated is right. When I started, I remember I absolutely hated the UI. I know they've gotten better over the years, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, you stick with it, and the more you keep up and the more you learn, it gets easier. Once you get over the UI, honestly, it's no big deal. Like, you learn what works for you. There's usually like 5 ways to do the same thing. It's kind of funny too, because you're constantly learning. And they're always making new updates to ZBrush, and they just updated the move tool, so now it works completely different than the way it used to.
So how long have you been using ZBrush?
Oh man, I think like 10 years.
Okay, so 10 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Been a long time.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Perfect. Thank
Cool.
you.
So Cole, I can see you're working in grayscale mainly. Are you going to add color on this? Or are you going to, no? Just go straight grayscale?
Nah,
Okay, call
I
it
don't
done.
care even if they ask for it.
No.
But no,
You guys want to see it in color?
yeah,
No?
So
Yeah. I heard some kinda, yeah.
yeah, maybe.
You guys wanna see
Not
it?
really.
All right, yeah.
So after I get the values to a certain point, I like to kind of go in and add like a base tone.
Okay. Purple paladin.
Yeah, a little
Okay.
purple. And what adding like a color underpainting makes it so that whenever I put a color on top of it, it makes it a little more vibrant. So I like to have a color underneath, just not black and white. So when I go to do something like this, I make a color layer. And I come in with like a blue.
Is there a reason you chose purple? Was there a specific reason?
It has like warm and cool in it, which is kind of
Okay.
nice. So it's a little bit on the neutral side with that. And Alex Horley does it, so if it works for him,
Okay,
it can't be that bad.
Alex does it.
If Alex does it,
Yeah.
he jumped off a bridge
Cool.
and I did the same thing. So let's see. So I grab my blue, and if I start going in here and adding that Alliance blue, it picks up some of the purple
Okay.
and kind of just makes it a little less static, because digital has a problem with that, where it can look kind of flat.
So some of that purple still kind of pops through in places?
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. That's looking awesome.
Thank you.
We got another question over there?
Hi, this is for Crystal. I'm primarily self-taught in ZBrush, and the stuff I import my models to, I'm limited on texture faces or subtools and polygon count. What kind of polygon count do you have limitations on with game exporting your models to a game?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. I've actually broken that a couple times. I kind of like I'll test things at an early stage in game just to like get an idea, like maybe this will kind of be like what the final result is. Like I'll decimate something and then I'll decimate again and decimate again. So I can't really give you a finite answer. I usually just kind of do it until it works.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Till it works. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Awesome. We got another question over there?
Hey, my name is Elijah, and I'm from Montana, and I'm starting college next year. And I was wondering what
Congrats,
you
man.
guys... Okay, I got lost. No, I'm going to college, and I was wondering if like getting a degree in this sort of stuff is what I want to do, but it's not really economically feasible a lot of the time. So I was wondering what your experiences were with like college-educated stuff versus like just hobby on the side learning.
Okay. Peter, did you go to college
Yes.
for art?
Yes.
Okay. Cole, what about you?
No.
Okay.
I was in your kind of same boat. Financially, it wasn't really possible, and so I had to find like really cheap solutions. I just read books and all that. As far as like, what department are you thinking about going into? You want like painting or sculpting?
More generally, what she's doing with 3D model type stuff.
I don't know what you look for in portfolios when you guys are hiring, but most of the time we just look at your work. And if your work is amazing, like I don't care what school you went to, like, and if you're a cool person, welcome to the team. It's not about a piece of paper. It's just about your passion.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
And the one thing that I want to add to that
I'm just kidding. You need a college.
is nowadays like there's so many opportunities. You can learn from so many different masters through online experience, right? There's so many like online courses or demos or the tutorials. So there's so many different ways other than school that you can learn everything you want to learn. Back in the days, like it was a little bit difficult because the internet was not fast
Back in
enough.
our day,
Back in the days,
I had to climb uphill in the snow to get to my art.
So YouTube was not a thing, and then we did not have like online course, anything like that, right? So the school was the best location to learn all this knowledge. But in these days, like if you are passionate enough to looking for what you want to get, I think there's a lot more opportunity that you can learn from it. So I think that is also one other way to get closer to your dream. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Cole said, portfolio's key. I mean, it really comes down to portfolio. So, however you get there, man. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Another one?
Great question.
Yeah, very good question.
Hi, my name is Erica Steele, and my question is for all three of you. As artists, we sometimes get artist block. I want to know how you guys overcome that.
Ooh, that's awesome. Crystal, how do you overcome what happens when you get stuck?
I end up like binge playing video games.
Okay.
It's kind of funny.
right.
It's like sometimes it gets real bad and you just have a hard time. And another way I'll go about it is I'll like just kind of like turn on some good music and like just try to work. And usually if that will work, but if that doesn't work, sometimes you just honestly need to take a break. And video games are one of the best breaks because they're so much fun, and it encourages you to work on it more. You get inspired by what you see. So
Cool. Cole, what about you? What do you do when you're stuck? You're never stuck,
I'm
are you?
never stuck.
You're never stuck.
It's never
That's the
happened.
problem.
And I'm sorry, I just can't relate. No, I'm just kidding. That happens all the time across the board. I think a lot of artists on the team, it's just artist burnout. You try to, it's very hard to be creative 24/7. You can exhaust it like a muscle. And I think as an artist, you feel guilty when you stop painting or drawing, especially when you're trying to make it and you're like, I should be painting at all times and sketching at all times, and like I'm a pile of garbage because I'm not doing it right now and I'm eating. Like, how dare I take time out of my schedule of drawing and to eat and sleep? But I think it's a very important thing, and it's a normal thing to go through that. The way I get over it is just play games, play Blizzard games, and just relax. Take the edge off and don't put so much pressure on yourself, and then you'll come back with fresh eyes, and that muscle will be stronger. It's just like a muscle when you work out. If you just keep tearing it and not letting it rest and heal, you risk losing your mind a little bit. So.
Okay. How about you, Peter? What happens when you get stuck?
Mine's like a really boring method, but then I just like keep bang through it like a paint over and over.
Just go through it? Okay.
Until I find a way out. On top of that, drinking definitely helps a lot. A lot.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Awesome. We have another one?
You say drinking?
Yeah. No. Not Peter. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? My name is Juan Goldfire, and I'm originally from Mexico. I'm living in Boston, Massachusetts. And my question is kind of extended. So,
Okay.
I've been a software developer for 10 years. Now lately, I've been doing like some game development by myself in some frameworks that are nowadays. And sometimes I find myself doing development like in Maya or drawing Photoshop or coding. Like I'm a kind of generalist. I'm not like amazing. I'm not
Wearing all the hats.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Cool.
Is that like, so, for example, for you guys, is there people who do that, like switching between roles and positions, or is that something that sometimes, like there is like something that you're expecting, like, oh, I draw stuff, but I want to do like 3D modeling, or I want to do like game modeling, stuff like that. Sometimes you feel like doing something different.
Do you ever feel like doing something different, Cole?
As far as like a totally different discipline, you're saying?
Would you do like, if one day you wake up and you say like, I want to learn, and you know already, and you do 3D modeling?
At Blizzard, I think we do a really great job of, we have a lot of, I've been on the team for 10 years, and we really try to put together one of our core values is learn and grow. And so they encourage you to like learn 3D, and if you want to get into it, or game design, or anything really.
Or concept art.
Or concept art, right? I mean, I painted textures for a long time. I was just a texture artist and wanted to get into concept art, and so they're like, if you want to get into that, we'll give you the tools that you need to do. So there's life drawing at work, and there's a lot of not to just boast Blizzard all the time, but it's a dream come true, and they treat us like spoiled little babies, and so they really, really do encourage you to follow your passion, no matter what that is. So it's looked upon greatly.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Just,
awesome.
Is there people like that, like switch between roles, and
yes.
people who switch like technical and art and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean,
All
it's always on a case-by-case basis, but yeah, that's happened, I think, like any place,
They are shot immediately. No, it's kidding. No, we have a couple people on the team too that they're prop artists 1 week, and then like go for that for a couple years, and then they're like, you know what, I want to do character and do that, or do concept art painting and go to that. So whatever you want to follow.
Good question. Thank you. We have another one?
Hey guys, question for any one of you really. When you get hired at Blizzard, do you get taught to do it the Blizzard way, or do you just do your own style? Like, do you have to layer like they tell you to layer, you have to color like they tell you to color, or can you just like go wild and do it your way?
That's a really good question. Crystal, actually, 5 months ago, just started, so she's probably a great person to answer that question for you.
Yeah, well, I think like, Blizzard hires people that, they can see the potential of what they want when they hire you. Like they won't hire, well, they would, well, I don't know. It's pretty easy to like figure out where you need to adapt, and they're really patient with you, like on your artistic journey. So I haven't had any problem like working out like, oh, this will work and this won't work. I can't do this anymore. Figuring out what habits are good and which are bad for the job and the project.
Yeah, it's I think that kind of sums it up really good. And like Cole mentioned, that learn and grow, value is even for like people joining the team. That's something that's very important. On our team specifically, like on World of Warcraft, we have a mentorship kind of pipeline that we set up for people that are joining the team, so they have someone that they can go to and kind of be a resource for them as they get used to working on the team. So cool, great question. Have another one?
Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm a developer, and so I'm curious. Developers always have hackathons to sort of express their creativity. I mean, you guys are being creative every day, but do you ever have like a week to just do whatever's in your mind to just, get it onto the computer, and then does that stuff ever make it into games?
It's kind of dependent on the teams. I think the different teams have different things. I know in the past they've talked about it with World of Warcraft that they did a Montepalooza. The character team, had they talked about that a couple years ago at BlizzCon. So, yeah, we have done stuff like that in the past for sure. So, cool. Good question. Another one?
Hi, and this is for all three. When you guys do portfolio reviews, you're probably going to see a lot of great art and talent. But are you looking more for like the skill or the idea? When you see maybe a portfolio that maybe it's not as great as others, but there's a really good idea going on, does that draw to you more, or are you looking for the skill?
Peter, you look like you.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about what I see in the portfolio whenever I review it. Definitely, I'm leaning towards more to idea generation part, but definitely, to be honest, like a skill has to be like a certain level, like a good level, right? But then if I have a choice between very skillful, portfolio, which has a lack of idea, like I haven't seen all this, type of ideas, versus like, wow, this is a fresh, type of idea, but like, maybe there's like a room to grow in like a skill-wise, right? Then I, leaning towards to the, the later guy. That's because, we work as team, and we have like a best resource in our team. So if anybody is a lack of a skill, like we have a full of resources, like great artists to help him or her to grow to be a better skillful artist, right? But we cannot teach anybody with the passion, like the idea, love, heart. Like that's something I cannot teach. So I rather want to have like a guy that has like a great passion and love about the game that we are making, and the skill thing, like I can teach them, like I can make a, the better artist out of them. So that's how I think. Yeah.
I think passion above all else.
Yeah.
Just like if, again, someone super talented comes along and they're like, yeah, you guys were close and I needed a job and I live down the street. And, yeah, it'd be cool to work on Warcraft. And I got a person that's a little bit underneath that person and is like, I've been dying to work on World of Warcraft and I love this. I will bleed blue and kill that guy over there.
You pointed too close to Peter. Man.
Yeah,
No
right,
good.
right in that vicinity. That person will grow really fast, and that is, like Peter is saying, like this, you just can't teach passion. I can't put that in you. I can teach you the easy part, rendering and, draw. I mean, it's not very easy, but it's, easier than just saying, be passionate about something. It's you just can't teach that.
Cool. Great question. We got another one?
Hi, my name is Bella. My question was, if I'm like, so right now I've done art for about like a year or two, and even though I take art classes, I'm still not getting very far in my art. So my question is to you guys, if you're talking to somebody my age, how would you tell them to start out with their arts? Like, how do you like progress further and get more detail into it?
I've got one follow-up question. How many hours a day are you making art?
A few hours a day. It depends. Like, if I'm just doing like doodles, maybe like about an hour. But if I'm trying to do something a bit more serious, it might take like about like 3 or 4 hours.
Okay. Cole, how many hours a day did you work?
So when I started really buckling down, what I did is I went to Barnes & Noble when it opened and didn't leave till it closed. And I would just grab every art book I could find, because there wasn't, like Peter was saying, there wasn't any digital painting stuff. There was no like YouTube kind of stuff out yet, and it wasn't like as mainstream as it is now. And so I would just get up and, since I was a loser who only saved up like $5,000 a day on a job, I could do that, and drew all day, just all day, all night. And like I remember like exactly like you, where I was like, you know, if I want to spend a lot of time on something, it was like 3 or 4 hours. And I had one instructor, and he goes, I went in, and he was like, what's the longest you spent on a drawing? And I was like, about
30 minutes.
30 minutes. No, I was like, yeah, like 3 hours. That was a long drawing to me. And he goes, you're going to spend the next month and a half, 8 hours a day on a drawing this big. And I was like, what? You can do that? And what it did is it taught me to focus. Like, there's a difference between kind of like going through the motions and really, really paying attention and studying. And it just takes a lot of time, just time.
Okay. What about you, Crystal? What artistic advice would you give, like, your young self, I guess, starting out?
Yeah, honestly, I would tell myself, you know, play less WoW.
What?
Discipline's really important. You know, it's good to be passionate, but you gotta know, like, you gotta put in the time, and you know, the fundamentals are awesome to know, like knowing color theory and all these things. I don't know.
Okay, cool. Peter, what about yourself? What would you tell Peter starting out?
So are you high school student?
I'm in 8th grade right now.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
You're way ahead of the curve, by the way.
Wow.
Okay, then I'll change my answer now. Enjoy what you do. I think the best thing you can do at this moment, because like you know, Cole and you know, Crystal covered all the, like, you know, the good portion of it. Like, you definitely have to, you know, keep trying it. But then, like, one of the best thing you know, for you know, the students who just started, definitely you know, keeping your interest, and then like trying to find like what you're really passionate about, because art is not just like one thing, right? There's like so many different disciplines and so many different you know, areas you can grow into. So you know, my best recommendation for young age, like you know, young artists like you, maybe exploring a lot of different options and try to figure it out, like what you really genuinely enjoy. You know, that's another really you know, awesome thing to you know, consider. And then, you know, definitely on top of that, like, you know, putting a lot of, like, you know, work into it, you know, that's definitely important. But right now, I would definitely recommend, like, try many different things and try to find out what you're really passionate about, like where you're really enjoying it. Yeah.
Cool. That was an awesome question. Great job. Keep at it. Very cool. Another one?
Yeah, I'm wondering how specially skilled does Blizzard like their tech artists?
How specially skilled does Blizzard like their tech artist? I would say it depends on the game team, and then also it depends on the specifics for that role or whatever. It really depends. It's a hard answer to give kind of a general thing too, unfortunately. Sorry.
Probably not skilled.
Yeah. So Crystal, I can see you're dropping in some hair now.
Yeah, this is kind of placeholder. Like, if I was actually making something for a game, it would be more alpha. But you know, for this presentation, it looks nice. You know, you got the little strands.
What do you say when you say more alpha? What do you mean by that?
Basically, you would make the texture and you would create something that would mask out parts of the texture so that it's transparent. So it leaves the strands of hair and you don't see
so
the rest
it would
of the
go
mesh.
more on flat planes or something? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Cool. So you're getting in and putting those more finer details in.
Yeah, for funsies.
Okay. That's cool. And Cole, I can see you're kind of working on the shoulder pad here.
Yeah, we'll go.
You're putting a lot of fine details in there. You're also implying a lot of details with kind of like a brush stroke here, a brush stroke there, but it still feels like metal. I guess, how do you figure out that balance?
I mean, it's just your personal style. It takes a long time. I mean, I looked at a lot, like to find like what you like as far as like detail and like render level and stuff. It's like a personal taste thing. And It kind of just took a long time for me. I looked at like a lot of Paul Bonner's work and a bunch of different artists, and you kind of like go like, I like how he renders that, and I like how loose he leaves it. Like John Singer Sargent like leaves of some things very, very loose and things like that. So it just kind of like takes time and can fluctuate like depending on like who you like.
Do you do studies of their work or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I did master studies. I like to do like I'll take one of their paintings and kind of like crop a small section and maybe just like paint one of the faces that they have in it and get that. I'm like, oh, cool. You will download a lot of information and like how they do their brushwork, and you'll kind of try to dissect it into how they actually did it. So I think master copies are a really good way to get better.
That's cool. Another question over there?
Can you describe your day at work?
Ooh, Crystal, what's your day at work like?
I like to go in and grab some coffee and sit down
At
with my
our
figurines. You know, it's you get tasks and you work on them. You work with the other artists and animators and effects artists. Like, it's a really collaborative work environment. Like, you know, you never know. You might get inspiration from some random source. Specifically for 3D art, we work closely with concept artists, and they're always fun to work with. I don't know.
So coffee and then working with other artists and then sitting down.
Yeah.
Cole, coffee?
I mean, usually I'll just call in.
Yeah.
Try to get out of it, and they're like, no, you have to come in today. And I say, okay. No, it's, we usually roll in around like 10 o'clock. It's, you know, core hours, which is awesome. And my dad hates that because he gets up at 4 a.m. And he's just like, you are so spoiled. I go, I know. And come in, talk to my fellow artists and buddies. We grab some breakfast and get ready for a creative day. It's really collaborative, and you get a lot of energy from the people around you. So it's really neat that, you know, as long as you do your work and everybody does, like, because everyone's super passionate, it's not like crack of the whip there, and it's, you know, they're not like, why aren't you at your desk right now? Like, that's not the mentality. It's like creativity takes time and, you know, kind of like a different approach. It's not just like where's your TPS report?
I think also for you, it's like, you know, you don't just get energy as well, you also give energy. So you're always around kind of inspiring and helping everyone, you know, and working with everyone else. Like, you know, Crystal said, very collaborative. So how about you, Peter? Collaborative coffee and then collaborating with other artists?
I talk a lot. Yeah. That's a really important part, because as being a concept artist and as being a lead of the you know, the project, you know, communication is such a big part of it. You know, definitely me drawing out and then like me you know, inspiring other artists with my artwork is definitely important. But the bigger portion of my day is problem solving. You know, so just to talk to other artists, to talk to other discipline, come up with a better solution if there's any you know, challenges that we are facing. So you know, I use my painting and drawing skill as a tool to solve that you know, the problems that we were facing. So you know, the biggest portion of my day is basically communicating with other artists and then trying to come up with a solution. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Good question. We have another one?
Hi, my name's Ed. My question's for the, sorry, I've completely forgotten all your names, the 3D modeler.
Oh,
Crystal.
Crystal.
So I was wondering, when you're making your 3D models, how much consideration do you put into the sort of subsequent work? Because I assume there'll be other people that will be doing the rigging and the animation. Do you, like, how does that change your workflow when you have to, do you take those into consideration, or do they change the model afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, every now and then, like, I'll talk to the animator, I'll see what they want to do, or designers, or you know, you can't always prepare for every scenario, though. Like, a lot of times, you know, you can make, like, you can do a zebra mesh, and you can set it to animation, they can try it out, will be like good, and then later on you find out, oh wait, it wasn't good. So you just kind of expect there's going to be rework, and stay positive about all that. Do what you can.
It's, like Crystal said before, collaboration. The work doesn't just flow downstream from concept all the way to completion. I mean, rigging artists will be working with concept artists and kind of how are we going to rig this up and set this up. So it's definitely always a two-way street with that. So there's a lot of collaboration. Good question. Is there another one?
Hi. I was curious, as somebody who's like, a couple years out of college and say had one idea, one direction that I wanted to go, one discipline in terms of art that I wanted to go in, right? But unfortunately, I don't always have the opportunity to hone those skills because gotta get a job and gotta do that. And basically ended up branching into a different discipline in art. Like when you look at somebody's portfolio and look at their resume and their history and stuff, do you see that as a drawback, being like, oh, this person just kind of flip-flop between concept, illustration, now they're doing 3D, or at the end of the day, like whatever the portfolio that they're presenting to you, is that what you care about, and you don't care how they got it and how many disciplines they jumped to kind of get, where they wanted
that's
to
a really good question. I think it goes back to their earlier statement where passion, also make it apparent. If it's 3D characters, make sure it's focused on 3D characters. Make sure your portfolio is focused for what you're applying for. I think that's probably the most important thing with that. But good question. Cool. We have another one? Oh, 1 second. So Cole, you jumped ahead and colored the whole thing now.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What are you focusing on now?
So right now I want to jump ahead past the other point, just rendering out the gold and stuff. And so some things I like to do is I render out almost all the materials kind of like at the same time, usually when I do this, a little portion of those materials, so that when I have to move on to another material, so like for the gold, for instance, I get this area kind of looking nice.
Okay.
And it covers what gold is in shadow. So if I have gold that's in shadow, I have the color right here for it. And then I can just color pick right here where it's like, okay, gold and light. And so I can just color pick that.
Okay,
go in
so
here.
you've kind of got your visual bar set.
Yeah,
Just transfer that.
it's much easier to think about stuff. And I want to add a highlight. I know I can just color pick my highlight color, and all of a sudden I can start just painting the rest of the painting because I figured out the values of each material and stuff.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. We have another question over there.
Hi. I have experience in all of the software you're using right now. So for a question for all you guys, what is the one tool that you can't live without?
Peter, what's the one tool? Need to have it.
Photoshop.
Photoshop. Cole, one tool you need.
Okay, so there's something sweet and romantic I could say, which is my wife. I can't live without her,
man,
but I
this
don't
guy.
want to call her a tool, so I'm conflicted.
Yeah, you're going to get in trouble, bud.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Control Z.
There you go. Yeah, undos. Pretty good. Crystal, what about you?
Well, if you're going to say Control Z, I got to say Control S.
Whoa,
nice. Nice.
A fellow chucker, eh?
Yeah. Touche.
Well, I was more asking like a brush or a tool in a
little more specific. Okay.
Okay. Other than undo and save, very important. But
for me, it's then I would say just like a basic brush is the brush that I mostly use. Let me quickly show you the brush that I'm using. I'm using this brush like 99% of the time, which is, as you can see, one edge has a hard edge, right there, versus like the other side actually has a soft edge. So what's really good for is like whenever I make a the paint or selection, if I go like that, then I can get both like in a hard edge, in a contrast versus like a soft, like a blend in. So whenever I paint the figure like this, and I want to like indicate like the shadow, then I'm gonna like exaggerate it. So if I do this, then I get like a really sharp, the value difference on the top section, and then like a soft blend. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it's the hard round brush. This thing right here. That is the bread and butter.
One tool.
I use that probably for
Okay.
99%
Like a basic
of the painting.
Photoshop brush?
Yeah,
Cool.
basic Photoshop brush,
Okay.
and then that's it.
Crystal, is there anything can't live without?
I'm kind of constantly changing. I change my workflow. Like I used to like standard, and then I like clay tubes, and then I like clay. Like honestly, for me, it's more like you find what works for you and what works for what you're doing.
And it changes, sounds like?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Good question. Okay, we have time for one more question before we need to wrap things up. Want to go ahead?
Hi. Hello. So besides Blizzard's games, are there any other games you guys enjoy playing?
Legally, I cannot answer that question. Can I answer that question? Can we answer that?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
No idea.
Ugh. Yes, there are.
I think as game developers, all of us on stage are very passionate about games in general. So, we're usually playing a lot of stuff. It's almost too hard to answer.
It's encouraged. Like, whenever a game hits at our studio, everyone's like, did you play blah, blah, blah? And we're like, oh my
Blah,
God,
blah, blah
it's
is so good.
Blah,
Yeah.
I love blah,
Love blah, blah, blah.
Remember when blah
You sell it?
happened?
Yeah, the thing? Oh, man.
Dude.
Super good.
And the blah came in, the blah, yeah.
Blah, blah.
Cool.
Thank you. Good question. It was cool. Cool. Okay, so we're winding it down. Crystal, you've kind of just finalized everything?
Yeah.
Got the wraps in?
Skip
Okay.
ahead,
You got the wraps on the
wrap.
arms finished and the torso?
Yeah.
Okay, you've added some like skin details, texture details around the chest.
Yeah. Another thing that probably not necessary but fun.
Cool. No, it's looking great. Looking awesome. And Cole, you've jumped ahead as well. You rendered everything out.
I didn't jump ahead. I actually painted that.
I was going to say, you rendered this out in
that
about
fast.
a minute.
I didn't even have layers.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just one brush, the finished
Yeah.
brush.
It's hard round.
Hard round. Lots of coffee. Cool. What are you focusing on when you're finishing a piece like this? Like, what are your final thoughts that go into this?
I think make sure like the overall values are right, that people can understand what they're looking at is a big portion. If anything, if a person comes by and is like, hey, what's that? I go, oh man, that's not reading properly.
Okay.
It's supposed to be that's supposed to be a bag. And then if 4 people come by and say that, I'm like, I definitely have to repaint that bag.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. How about you, Peter? What are your final thoughts that go into a painting?
So during the finishing stage, just trying to see the balance of the painting. Is it like a well balanced between like a light and dark? And is it balanced between like a detail versus a loose area? So that's the key thing that I'm trying to focus. And maybe like one other thing is finding out that the loose edge versus like tight, like a sharp edge. Literally contrast, the balance and contrast is the key thing that I'm trying to get during the final stage.
Okay, cool. Cool. It's looking great. Everyone's wrapped up. Okay. Want to thank everyone for coming out and watching this or watching this on the virtual ticket. Thank you very much. I hope you found this inspirational and inspiring. Also wanted to let you guys know, students, college students in the audience are watching. We have a World of Warcraft student art contest. Details are online about that. You can check that out. Please give everyone a round of applause. Give your artists a round of applause. And I hope you all have a great closing ceremony and rest of BlizzCon. Have a good night.
Thank you for attending Blizzard Art Live, 3D art and digital painting. Up next, exploring the wide world of Blizzard careers.